Assistance or pittance? Let's talk about the fuel assistance programs being offered by UberEats and GrubHub on this segment of the Gig Geezer. Well, what's been somewhat chief in our conversations a lot lately have been the rising and spiking gas prices. Well, two of the delivery apps have taken some type of initiative and making some effort at helping us drivers offset some of our added expense for gas. The first is GrubHub. GrubHub came out with an announcement saying that effective March 9th, that it will be doing various things to help drivers offset their gas expense. Then a couple of days later, UberEats came out with an announcement indicating that it's going to do something as GrubHub is now. GrubHub, when it comes to our pay, GrubHub is based on mileage, time, customer tip, and sometimes a bonus. And so what GrubHub said it's doing is going to increase the mileage that it pays for our orders. Next thing, GrubHub is going to increase the number of missions, giving us more opportunities to earn additional monies atop of the orders that we complete. Then there's additional pay, and that is based on all the mileage that we have accrued or accumulated during the current work week, and that there's supposed to be an amount that is supposed to be paid starting on March 15. What UberEats is doing, it announced that on March 16, customers will be paying a surcharge for every delivery or ride. So that means that if you're doing rideshare on the Uber app, customers will be paying an additional 55 cents for each ride that they take. And the driver is supposed to get 100% of that 55 cents. When it comes to the food delivery apps, UberEats and Corner Shop, customers will be paying an additional 45 cents, and of course 100% of all that money is supposed to go to the driver. And so that means that drivers should see an additional 45 cents through the customer on deliveries that we complete. Now, Uber says, we hope that this support helps your bottom line while gas prices are at high record levels. Now, that's what they say. Meanwhile, what are some of the other apps are doing? DoorDash? I've seen nothing yet. Instacart? Nothing. Waiter/Bite Squad? Nothing. So again, two apps have taken the initiative so far as of today, March 13. Now, both GrubHub and UberEats say that they will revisit this program after a while. UberEats clearly articulated that this is in effect for the next 60 days. Meanwhile, GrubHub says that it's temporary. Temporary could be however long that is. Now, what have I seen so far, and what should we expect to see? Okay, now, GrubHub first mentioned additional mileage. So this is something that you can actually go back into the app and kind of do the math for yourself. Previously, GrubHub contributed, when it came to mileage, 23 cents a mile for each order that we complete. Now it's roughly 24 cents a mile. Now, how do I know that? Okay, look at this example here. March 6th, these are a couple orders that I accepted on that day. This was an accepted stack order totaling $29.43. On one of the orders, GrubHub contributed 97 cents towards mileage, and that was 4.22 miles that the app determined that it took. Then there's the other one. It was $1.50 towards mileage, and it was 6.78 miles. When you calculate both, they came out to right at about 23 cents a mile. Now, on March 12th, I accepted two orders on that day. One order paid $8.39. The other one paid $9.56. The first order, $1.74, went towards mileage, and it was 7.25 miles. And then the other order, $2.46, went towards mileage, and that was a 10.25 mile trip, or a 10.25 mile delivery. Both of those came out to 24 cents a mile. So additional 1 cent per mile. That's what GrubHub is offering for additional mileage. Now, as for missions, since March 9 in my market, I have seen all of 4 mission offers. And these missions, again, they come at various times of the day, and they usually last between 60 and 90 minutes. The usual amount for the missions are $3 or $5, but all the missions offered have been $3. I've not earned any mission money thus far. Now, the last one is additional pay. And this is supposed to be based on estimated miles driven throughout the work week. In this particular example, should be through today, March 13th. We're supposed to see this additional amount on Tuesday, March 15th. That's what GrubHub is saying now. Now, based on the app, at least through March 12th, I have driven 119.43 miles for the 13 orders that I've completed for GrubHub. Now, if I go based on from March 9 to yesterday, March 12, those miles were 87.64 miles. Now, remember, GrubHub paid an additional 1 cent per mile. Now, based on that math, that means I've seen an extra 88 cents. Now, again, we don't know what this additional amount is going to be based on, but so far, 88 cents is what I've seen extra. Now, mind you, too, I made so far through yesterday $197.78. And then if you take away the 88 cents, well, that means I would have seen otherwise $196.60. So now, using the UberEats example, at least through yesterday, March 12th, I completed all of 18 orders and earned a total of $227.82. Now, UberEats in the email said, for example, if you complete 40 rides as a Uber driver, you should see an additional $22. Likewise, if that were food delivery, you would see an additional $18 based on those 40 deliveries. So let's use those numbers and apply to what I've done so far through March 12th. I completed 18 orders, and starting, if we were projected ahead to March 16 through the week ending March 20, if we transpose those numbers, I would see an extra $8.10. So that means that instead of earning $227.82, I would have made, in that example, $238.92. Well, altogether, if you use that example, these companies would have contributed an additional $8.98 that should help offset some of my gas expenses. Now, how much is gas the last time I gone to the pump, which was today, March 13th? Well, that was $4.20 a gallon. I put in 13 gallons, $55. $8.98 comes out to roughly about what? 18% difference in my gas for one tank. Now, if you want to ask me if what I think of what UberEats and GrubHub is doing, is it an assistance or is it a pittance? Well, I'll put it like this. The definition of pittance is a very small or inadequate amount of money paid as an allowance or payment. And that's what I think what they're doing. These are efforts that sounds like good PR. It may be an effort at good social responsibility, but does it really help us drivers? In my opinion, for what I do, it doesn't. Now, let me say one other thing before I end this segment of the Gig Geezer. If you only work one app and you do like 100 deliveries a week for each app, then I can see where there'd be a more significant amount of money that you would see. For example, I average about 110 deliveries a week. And if I were to use those numbers, the UberEats numbers, for example, 45 cents, we're talking then about $47 that I would see. And that would equal almost one tank of gas. If that were UberEats, for all the miles that I put in, and I average about it's safe to say somewhere is about 900 to anywhere between 900 and 1,200 miles a week. Even at 1 cent a mile, we're talking then, well, maybe on the high end, might see some, that's $12 additional that I would see in terms of money made. And then who knows how much else that GrubHub is supposed to be paying on top of it. So if you are working a single app and basically all your monies is earned through that app, then I can say that there may be assistance. But if you work multiple apps like I do, then this is nothing more than a pittance. And so that's just the way I see it. But I'd like your opinion on this. I'd like to see your comments. Hit that subscribe button as well. Give my content a thumbs up and share my content among others. And with that, this is another segment of the Gig Geezer. I'm Inwood Lane, and as always, may your hustle continue. Thank you for checking out this segment of the Gig Geezer. If you reach this point, it means that you've checked it out in its entirety, and it's very much appreciated, and it tells YouTube that you're very much engaged in my content. Hey, if you'd like to get in contact with me or pass on some other useful information, I can be reached at giggeezer3.5@gmail.com, or you can check me out on Twitter at giggeezer.